Hey all, Johnny here. Today I wanted to talk about Mixture VR. It's coming out on April 12th for PSVR2 and PCVR on Steam. It's already been out on Quest for about a year now, and it looks like they've done quite a bit in the way of upgrades on this game. I played it on PCVR through Steam. I played it on my Quest 3 headset using virtual desktop and Steam Link, so the recordings you'll see are both a little bit from virtual desktop and a little bit from Steam Link. So we're going to review Mixture VR coming out on April 12th, and let's get into it. Mixture is a fantasy action adventure platformer made by developer Played with Fire out of Krakow, Poland. I really enjoyed this game. I was surprised. Platformers are not usually my favorite games. I've heard the comparison to Moss several times, and I think that's accurate. I played Moss on the original PSVR1 demo disc, and I enjoyed it enough for a platformer. I don't really enjoy platformers, like I said, but this is another game kind of like that where I might not be the intended audience, and I might not normally play this type of game, but I can give it a fair shake for sure. That being said, though, I really didn't mind playing this game at all. I did play over 5 hours of the game, and I had a good time the whole time. I enjoyed myself. I wouldn't have picked it up, and I do want to thank Played with Fire for giving me a review key, early access review key. That was great. I really appreciated it, and I might not have played the game otherwise, and I might have missed out because I did have some fun. And I do intend to go back, and I think I've got 2 or 3 hours left of gameplay, and I'm definitely going to finish the game. I enjoyed it, and that says a lot, considering the fact that I did feel like some of the graphics were a little lacking. I mean, rather, some of the texture and the up close was just not there the way I would have felt it should have been. For example, the walls and the floors right in your gameplay area are always just a little blank. No texture, nothing, just really smooth and just almost too smooth. Now, I know they're kind of going for like this ethereal feel, and the flatness could lend itself to that, and I could see the argument. But really, I would have liked to see a little more texture up close, as there is a vastness to the game. As you look out in the distance, there's beautiful horizons, there's beautiful distances and surroundings, and the lighting plays off of things really nicely. But then you just have these like really flat spots where your main gameplay is happening. And once again, that could have been an intentional art style choice, but I would have liked to see a little more texturing where those smooth spots are. Otherwise, though, it was a really nice looking game. I thought the moth and all the other little creatures looked really nice. I enjoyed playing as the alchemist, doing the mixtures and making those while controlling the moth, Solas the moth. I keep wanting to call him Moss. But no, I mean, it was all in all, it was a really fun game. I enjoyed the gameplay. It felt solid. I enjoyed the way it looked. I thought, hey, this is a game I could keep playing. I did have a hard time getting into it, but after the first little bit, after you kind of beat the first boss and you get into after you get to the first fort and you kind of get into the next little area, it does start to pick up. And as you climb up this mountain, it does change. It seems there's certain parts where you're just going through these corridors and it seems kind of monotonous and like, oh, this again. But after a while, it really does. Each area has its own space. So while they can be kind of long, they do change enough to where it keeps it changed up just enough to where it's interesting and you don't lose the desire to keep playing. And the story was surprisingly good as well. Don't get me wrong, I mean, it's not a life-changing story, but it is a pretty good story that drives the gameplay in a proper manner. So I enjoyed it. I also enjoyed the gameplay. I thought the gameplay was very solid. I have very few critiques of the gameplay. I did have some issues when I would go to glide. The wings would open up, and you wouldn't only, like, A would just, or it's not A, but whatever button you're supposed to push to make you glide would just sometimes stick. So like sometimes it'd be the second or third time you pushed it, by the time it's too late. So I did have that issue, and just the overall, there was a little bit of a slowness to the game that didn't kill it, but I wouldn't mind just a little bit more faster pace. Just up it a little bit. I think the pace was intentional, but I like faster paces. And I mean, now don't get me wrong, if you got too much going on during those enemy battles, it could get rather hectic, making all the mixtures and doing all that. But I think they could find a fine balance to where things were just, and when I'm talking about slow, I do mean the overall movements of the character and everything, not necessarily just the combat, but the moving through the corridors and everything as well. But the gameplay, all in all, was pretty good. The feel was there. I really enjoyed playing as the alchemist, and I thought that that was a nice way to be a little overseer by adding potions and things. It was a really interesting use of the first person, third person helper. What do they call it? I think they call it self co-op. I'm pretty sure that's what the devs were calling it, was self co-op, which I think is a clever term, and you are playing with yourself. It makes, that's the term for it, and I think it works. So the self co-op game was definitely a fun and interesting game to play, and I have to say that I would play it again. I'm gonna go ahead and finish the game up. I've put about 5 hours into it. Got another 2 or 3 hours to go to beat it, I think, and I'm gonna finish it, enjoy it, maybe play it a little bit with my daughter. But all in all, you know, it wasn't the most amazing game. It's not probably going to win any awards to speak of, but it's definitely worthy of a small fan base. And I could see the game making a steady climb and being a good addition to your library, especially if you like platformers. Once again, I'm not a huge platformer fan. If you do like this style of game, it'll probably be a pretty easy yes for you. Once again, I want to thank the devs, Played with Fire, for hooking me up with this key. And I do want to say that I did have a good time playing this game. I do recommend the game if it's your type of game. And I think you know if it is the type of game that you're going to play or not. You can see on the screen, what you see is what you get in this case. A lot of times the flat screen doesn't really do it justice from VR, but in this case it does. So if you like what you see on the screen and you like a little bit of what I've said, you're probably going to like the game. So I'm going to leave it there for real. You guys take it easy. I appreciate everyone who came through. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.